Her name is Dr. Va Lecia Adams Kellum. She's the former CEO of the LA Homeless Services Authority. Yes, this is a person who supposedly administers homeless services in California. She was recently forced to resign, though, after her mega agency failed multiple audits. She says, "I don't know where or how we spent billions of dollars." Oh, trust me, we know. It's going right here. This necklace is obscene. I mean, I don't know anything about pearls, but this has got to be maybe $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 right here.
There is a corrupt homeless industrial complex. And so it's because people want to help homeless people. Like I live in Los Angeles. Whenever they put it on the ballot, hey, do you want to raise your taxes by half a penny as sales tax, and that money will go to fix the homeless problem? They always vote yes. But that money never makes its way to the homeless people. And James Lee came up. He's been doing a great job uncovering this. Here, it's turned into a scam that people are doing. And here, he's going to tell you all about it.
Hope this woman enjoyed herself with her beautiful necklace, dress, photo shoot, because she's about to go to jail. If you don't know who that was, her name is Dr. Va Lecia Adams Kellum. She's the former CEO of the LA Homeless Services Authority. Yes, this is a person who supposedly administers homeless services in California. She was recently forced to resign, though, after her mega agency failed multiple audits. She says, "I don't know where or how we spent billions of dollars." Oh, trust me, we know. It's going right here. This necklace is obscene. I mean, I don't know anything about pearls, but this has got to be maybe $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 right here. So how did she get that money? Well, first off, she paid herself a monstrous salary, $430,000 a year. Then she funneled millions of dollars into her husband's sham organization, allegedly, 3 separate times. She also really tried to booze it up at her holiday party by demanding that taxpayers pay for her open bar. And when an associate of hers said that, hey, that is an improper use of public funds, she got visibly angry and then terminated her employment. This is not only very petulant behavior, but also very illegal. After that, she started hiring her friends with whistleblowers, alleging that she pushed out staff, experienced staff, to hire unqualified friends and former subordinates from her previous job into high-level, high-salary positions within the LA Homeless Services Authority. And when people caught wind of this and started reporting, she tried to cover her tracks by destroying public records and also arranging to pay hush money, $800,000 to silence whistleblowers. $800,000 of your money. Yeah, I think it's time to start selling off some of these pearls, girl, because you're going to need that money. The last thing I'll say, and this part is serious, is that the only reason why we know about any of this stuff is because there are still some great local reporters on the ground who still believe in real journalism, pieces that I've cited in this video, as well as brave whistleblowers who still know right from wrong. Thank you guys. You guys are the real heroes.
So that's why the homeless problem is not being solved or even fixed a little, is because there's a lot of money in scamming the people who are the taxpayers and not fixing the problem. Because if you fix the problem, then they're out of a job. And there's a little bit more to this. Yeah. Sightbringer says, here's how the homeless scam actually works step by step in full clarity. Crisis manufacturing. Politicians and agency heads need the crisis. The worse the street conditions get, the more urgency they can manufacture for new funding. More tents equal more press conferences. More overdoses equal more federal grants. More chaos equals more leverage. They don't want to solve homelessness. They want to administer it forever. Number 2, nonprofit laundering. The public believes nonprofit means benevolent. In reality, it means unaccountable. Public agencies funnel tens of hundreds of millions to these non-government organizations. They're called NGOs. The NGOs are run by connected insiders, friends, spouses, often all three. They receive the money with little to no competitive bidding. Then they inflate their own salaries, rent office space from their friends, hire former campaign staffers as consultants, submit vague metrics like outreach contracts made or rentals attempted, spend $0 on actually housing people. The cycle continues Because number 3, metrics don't matter. These NGOs and agencies never report success by permanent exits from homelessness. They report people engaged or meals served or services offered. This is by design. They measure activity, they don't measure outcomes. Why? Because if they were judged on results, they'd be defunded in a year. Number 4, bureaucratic capture. Agencies like the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority are run by the people who rotate between the government and the very nonprofits they fund and the political donor networks, like we just saw in that video. They appoint their friends to high-paying roles. They silence whistleblowers with settlements paid by taxpayers. They delete emails and destroy documents under public record laws. They treat criticism of their personal attack as a personal attack rather than a public accountability tool. There is no external audit that ever leads to criminal prosecution. Why? Because every layer of oversight is staffed by people connected to the scam. The political firewall: if you criticize this structure, you're accused of attacking women of color, undermining equity, not understanding the trauma-informed model. It's weaponized identity politics to block any reform. It's weaponized identity politics because people are too afraid to speak up, even when they see the theft in plain sight. It's the fear is what protects the machine. Hang on one second.
Back stack.
Oh, really? Okay. One more. Number 6, media compliance. Most journalists won't touch this. Why? They rely on access to City Hall. They don't want to be labeled as anti-homeless. They get press kits and pre-approved interviews from very nonprofits stealing the money. So instead of exposing the fraud, they run headlines like "City increases homeless funding in historic equity push." The media has become a laundering mechanism too. That's right. And now number 7, the forever budget. Every year the budget grows. Every year more tents appear. And every year the consultants say, we just need a little more time, a little more funding, a little more trust. It's not incompetence. It's a high-yield crisis economy where the victims stay poor and the administrators get rich. So in summary, this is not about helping people. It's a grift at industrial scale, a crisis that became a career ladder, a tragedy monetized, a wound kept open on purpose because there's power, prestige, and profit in pretending to heal it. And the moment someone tries to close it for real, the whole machine turns against them, because in this system, solving homelessness would bankrupt the managers. So there you go.
It's exactly right. I mean, in Santa Cruz, we have a city manager that's also the treasurer of the food bank. The community liaison at the food bank was the president of the anti-homeless group Take Back Santa Cruz when she was a city councilor, and it just, the media. For instance, we're celebrating our 45th anniversary of the concert in San Lorenzo Park here in Santa Cruz, and I've tried to get the media locally to maybe report on it. There's never been an actual, like news report in the local media about the fact that Food Not Bombs fed the homeless every single day for 3 years during the pandemic when the other food programs were shut down because they were indoors. And we did it all as volunteers. It seems like that might be a story in the local media. Or, the fact that we're in 1,000 cities of the world and that we were, right now we're dealing with the earthquake in Myanmar. That might be a story like, oh, wow, homeless Food Not Bombs organizer, founder lives in Santa Cruz. But they're not going to do that. So they're only going to have stories about the homeless industrial complex and how wonderful it is doing. That's basically all they will have.
And so that woman who's running that scam organization to help the homeless and enriching herself, that pearl necklace, I don't know if you remember in the Goodfellas, that pearl necklace would have landed her in a freezer truck. Do you remember in Goodfellas when they were buying new cars and fur coats, and then And so then Jimmy had him killed and put in a freezer truck because you're being too obvious about the money that you stole. And that's exactly what's happening with her. But there is nobody there to prosecute these people. So how do we fix this?
Well, you know what? It's going to be really, really hard. Well, one of the things is we basically need a revolution. Because we have to somehow organize in such a mass way. And I have been impressed at MAGA people that I know being pretty upset about the direction of Trump. So there's actually a possibility of some unity amongst all of us that are that are low income, if we could have some kind of way of coalescing. But that is very, very difficult. And things like some people propose general strikes and things like that. There needs to be some kind of way to put the fear into the political system such that it bends to our will, basically. And that's like what you were doing with for Medicare for all, trying to have some kind of leverage. We have to have a strategy that somehow these people fear that we're coming with torches and pitchforks, and therefore they're going to give us better crumbs than they are currently doing. There's a good book on this. It was on the history of this welfare state by Frances Fox Piven called Regulating the Poor. So that she wrote that book in 1971. And it goes over the history of how United Way, or it was called United Chest at the time, was developed in New York City because there was riots, and they were trying to hand out money to people to stop rioting. And that's how ultimately our welfare system got started. It was social control right from the beginning. Fear that working class people that were, and this is in the Great Depression, would rise up and take power from the ruling class. Another thing is the drug thing, which is a big maligning of homeless people all the time, the fentanyl. And I remember when the U.S. left Afghanistan, you would hear people talking about trying to buy heroin, or do you know so-and-so with some heroin, if you were in the camps where that was happening. And then it went to fentanyl 6 months later because there was no more heroin. That tells you something. Why did heroin stop and fentanyl happen? And then the staff person, I don't know her title, at the San Jose Police Union was using the San Jose Police Union's FedEx account, UPS account, with a return address to the union office, selling the largest amount of fentanyl ingredients to other people across the United States. And she was connected to the San Jose Police Department.
Yeah, we covered that story. They demonetized it on YouTube, that story.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
My grandfather was in OSS in Burma during World War II. He directed the most deadly bombing campaign in world history called Operation Meeting House, the firebombing of Tokyo. He was super proud of that. And he died when I was 14, and he has kind of assumed I'd follow in his footsteps. So he talked a great deal about how when he was in Burma, he organized this heroin distribution system during World War II, so that there would be flooding the black community in the United States with heroin, because they knew with the unequal benefits from the GI Bill, because to get the GI Bill passed, they had better for whites, not as good for blacks. And so he told me we had to get them to fight each other over heroin so they wouldn't organize and demand their equal benefits of white people. So this strategy has been going on for a long time, just like Gary Webb and
exposing
the whole thing with,
exposing the crack
CIA.
cocaine being brought into this cities and flooding the black community with crack cocaine in the 80s by the CIA, which was revealed by Gary Webb. So this is the modus operandi for the deep state, and this is how they keep you So working people don't come together to fight against the oligarchs that are squashing them, taking good jobs, sending it to slaves. So we don't come together. So we keep being angry at each other. We're angry at someone. And I always say, if you're angry at someone lower on the economic ladder than you, is a good chance you're being manipulated by someone higher on the economic ladder than you. And if the homeless problem, it's real easy to get angry at the homeless guy because you come in contact with that guy, and that guy has been fentanyl has been flooded into our community. Why did heroin stop stop? Because we left Afghanistan. When we took over Afghanistan, heroin and all those farmers were turned into poppy farmers, and all that heroin got flooded back into the United States. Well, as soon as we left Afghanistan, the Taliban doesn't put up with that stuff, so they got rid of the poppy farmers there, and then all of a sudden the deep state, they switched to fentanyl, and then they flood everybody with fentanyl, and that's exactly what's happening. And don't think this isn't by design, because it is by design, and we're the suckers. And so we keep fighting amongst each other. We keep left fighting against the right, MAGA fighting against lefties and liberals and all. And the whole point of this show is to see through that and to come together. And what they want us to do is to live in such a chaotic state that we beg for authoritarian solutions to these problems, and we give more power to the state. And that's the last thing we should do. Only thing that scares them is for workers to unite across class lines, which is why, and we've had on people like Christian Parenti that tells you that the people like the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, they work with the deep state, the CIA, to make sure that there is never a class analysis to a social movement, that it's always about identity politics, and it's never about working class coming together. That's when, they killed Martin Luther King, not after he integrated, they didn't mind that he integrated the lunch counters. That made more money for everybody. What they bothered them was when he did a poor people's march on Washington, D.C. He didn't do a black people's march on Washington, D.C. He didn't do a poor black people's march. He did a poor people's march. He was bringing people together to oppose the Vietnam War and to advocate for workers' rights, and that's when they killed him. And so that's what's happened. So I wish. You're right. We do need a revolution, and the start to that is for people to stop hating their neighbor. Don't get divided between Democrats and Republicans, conservatives. Don't call yourself your neighbor is not the problem. Your neighbor is hurting just like you are under the same oligarchy, just like during COVID. Don't let them divide us. Come together and keep your eye on the oligarchy. That's the only advice I can give people. And I think people like you are doing great work. What else would you like to say that I didn't?
It's great you mentioned Christian Parenti, because he's an old Food Not Bombs volunteer in San Francisco during this whole time, and I'm close to his father, Michael. But yeah, that's what we need. We need like some dramatic way of pulling everybody together. So I have one friend who was a January 6er. She was in there. She's a really wonderful person, and I would never be mad at her. She's a holistic health person. She's an amazing person, super smart, healed a lot of people. I wouldn't have gone to steal the vote march myself. But then I have lefties that were there that took videos of it, and they all, so we can be united. And I am amazed at how much more pushing back on social media and just in personal conversations, people that voted for Trump, they really are disappointed, and they're willing to fight back. And I do think we have some hope in that. I wrote like a Substack about that a while ago. And here we have we tried to bring people together around against the police state stuff called, my girlfriend started a thing called Brave and Free Santa Cruz. And we did get Republicans, libertarians, and we didn't get any Democrats, but we got the far left wingers all united to try to stop the license plate reader, to try to free Julian Assange, to try to stop the U.S. war against Russia, through Ukraine proxy. So we've been, and boy, did we get smeared by the local community for being like these right-wing Trump supporters. It was incredible.
If you come out against the police state, if you come out against war, they immediately slander you as a right winger. If you come out for my body, my choice, you're now slandered as a right winger, which we found out during COVID. So that's why the Democrats don't say my body, my choice anymore. They say I'm pro-abortion. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard, and it's a psyop. It's a psyop.
It's all a psyop. Or like you're supposed to buy a Tesla because you're a good liberal, because you got to save the environment. Now you got to burn a Tesla because Elon Musk is ruining America. And, you can see, it's definitely just a continuation of the same imperialist, violent, oppressive system run by the oligarchs. So, my grandfather in the OSS, was hired by an imaginary bunch of bankers and industrialists that he never told me about who they were, but he explained that's who he was working for. His best friend was Curtis LeMay, and I used to watch him yell and scream at Curtis for not dropping the atomic bomb on Hanoi. He would be on the phone. He'd call up McNamara. You guys dropped the atomic bomb. He was like really, really into that. And but he made it really clear that that they were not fighting for democracy. And this is when Curtis was like proposing to John F. Kennedy that they do a false flag against the malls in Miami and blame it on Castro so they could invade. But he was involved in helping set up the Pearl Harbor himself and talked all about how we needed to do Pearl Harbor. If we didn't do that, then the Americans wouldn't go to war against the Japanese. So these, just like Remember the Maine or the Tonkin Bay incident, it's just endless array. And we're about to have some other thing, right? Probably to go to war with Iran.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's right now, the name Food Not Bombs. I've been hoping for the whole 45 years that we used to back when we started, there was this thing called the 100th monkey. And it was about how eventually the monkeys, there was some study, there was a book on it, The 100th Monkey, that the monkeys started washing their food all of a sudden, like all over the world, all at the same time. So I'm hoping the words Food Not Bombs, people in America, and we're suppressed in the media. You're, essentially about the media of Food Not Bombs. I mean, my 2 shows with you pretty much are it. A few people, Sabby and Blackout, Revolutionary Blackout and stuff. But anyway, that people can relate to that. You have $1 trillion military budget, while I'm getting dozens of calls a week from seniors who have no food, who want me to drive to their place in rural America to feed them. And that went all through the Biden administration. Homelessness increased 32% under Biden.
Yep.
And so really, if we have all these Americans and then we're starving the people in Gaza, my latest Substack, which is way too long, is Hunger is Not a Game. It is not a game. People, if you meet people, it's incredible the amount of people that will rush up to Food Not Bombs at the end of the day going, oh, you still have food? You got to still have food. I haven't eaten in 3 days. This is America. And we see all the Food Not Bombs chapters all over America see the same thing. And thankfully, we're decentralized. We're probably in about 500 cities in the U.S. And but we stick together with our philosophy that the food is always free to anyone, rich or poor, drunk or sober, that we have no headquarters or presidents or anything like that, and that we're not a charity. And that's really key. We're not a charity. We're dedicated for taking nonviolent direct action to change society so no one has to live in the streets or eat at a soup kitchen. And if we can get that ideology, that mantra, Food Not Bombs, to be in the hearts of all Americans and realize that all Americans actually really think that at the same time and somehow mobilize. So at the concert that we're doing in the park here, that's my main message. We need to organize against the wars, because that's getting outrageous, the military budget, and the austerity programs that are coming down. And it very much reminds me of Reagan when we started, where the military budget went way up and he cut social services, and that's what inspired Food Not Bombs to be what it is today, 45 years later.
Trump came in saying he was going to cut the military budget by 50%, and of course, he's increasing it. All the money that Doge is claiming that they're going to save, they're just taking that money and giving it straight to the war machine, which that's all that USAID was anyway. They were just a middleman from the war machine. They were just another CIA cutout. Same thing with the NED, National Endowment for Democracy. So all that money, they're not cutting it from the budget. They're just giving it to the military industrial contractor. They're giving it to Raytheon and Booz Allen and all the it's all the bomb makers. And so here's your T-shirt at foodnotbombs.net. It's a great T-shirt. There it is. Food Not.
Oh, great! Thank you, Jimmy.
So everybody should grab a T-shirt. And you're right. Maybe we can raise the consciousness of Americans. Foodnotbombs.net. Get yourself a nice T-shirt. Help out people who are really doing the work. You're not wear your pearl necklace. If you're supposed to be helping the homeless, you're supposed to have pearl necklaces. You're supposed to employ your brother-in-law law at $500,000 a year. You're not doing any of that.
Yeah, I'm failing at being a good capitalist completely. But I'm making it on my sale of the Anarchist Cookbook has been doing real well, relatively speaking. And I get Social Security. So I'm really fat on the hog. I'm getting a whole $1,100 a month. It's beautiful. And my food stamps, because I'm officially homeless, my food stamps are $83 a month. When I had a home, when I was officially had a home, my food stamps were $198 a month. It's weird. And I said to the woman, it's like, well, why did they go down so dramatically when you no longer have housing? And they go, I don't know.
Oh, you fat cats at the bottom. I'm so sick of you laughing at us all over a cup of noodles. Anyway,
thank you so much, Jimmy.
Keith McHenry, I appreciate you coming back on foodsnotbombs.net. Everybody check that out. We got to come together. Don't let the establishment divide us. It's us against them. It's not us against each other. Thanks for coming on, Keith.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Come see us live in Los Angeles, Buffalo, Toledo, Montreal, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, London, Liverpool, Birmingham. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.